One's life has value so long as one attributes value to the life of others. Freedom is the source from which all significations and all values spring. It is the original condition of all justification of existence. Authentic love must be founded on reciprocal recognition of two freedoms. Why one man rather than another? It was odd. You find yourself involved with a fellow for life just because he was the one that you met when you were 19. What does it mean to be truly free? What role do we play in shaping ourselves and the society we live in? Simone de Beauvoir, one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, explored these questions deeply. Her reflections on freedom, responsibility, and identity challenge us to break free from imposed roles and create our own destiny. Man is defined as a human being and a woman as a female. Whenever she behaves as a human being, she is said to imitate the male. She is incidental, the inessential as opposed to the essential. He is the subject, he is the absolute, she is the other. Her wings are cut and then she's blamed for not knowing how to fly. The word love has by no means the same sense for both sexes, and this is one cause of the serious misunderstandings that divide them. The division of the sexes is a biological fact, not a moment in human history. Their opposition was delineated within an original Mitsein and has not been broken. The term Mitsein, borrowed from Heidegger, means being with. It highlights the idea that human existence is inherently social. We exist and define ourselves in relation to others. However, de Beauvoir argues that this coexistence often becomes a struggle for power rather than true collaboration. It is a criminal paradox to deny women any public activity, to bar them from a male career, to proclaim their incapacity in all fields, and to entrust them with the most delicate and serious undertaking, the formation of a human being. That the child is the supreme aim of woman is a statement having precisely the value of an advertising slogan. One is not born, but rather becomes, a woman. This quote, taken from The Second Sex, is probably de Beauvoir's most famous. It summarizes her vision of gender as a social construct, challenging the idea of a predetermined feminine nature. But it will be asked at once, how did all this begin? It is easy to see that the duality of the sexes, like any duality, gives rise to conflict. And doubtless the winner will assume the status of absolute. But why should man have won from the start? It seems possible that women could have won the victory, or that the outcome of the conflict might never have been decided. How is it that this world has always belonged to the men, and that things have begun to change only recently? Is this change a good thing? Will it bring about an equal sharing of the world between men and women? De Beauvoir did not limit herself to theorizing, but lived according to her principles, challenging the social norms of her time. Her unconventional relationship with Jean-Paul Sartre and her political commitment testify to the coherence between her thought and her actions. Becoming an object, becoming passive, is quite another thing from being a passive object. It is easier to put people in chains than to remove them if the chains bring prestige, said George Bernard Shaw. Women's mutual understanding comes from the fact that they identify themselves with each other, but for the same reason each is against the others. No one is more arrogant toward women, more aggressive or scornful than the man who is anxious about his virility. If so few female geniuses are found in history, it is because society denies them any means of expression. Few tasks are more like the torture of Sisyphus than housework, with its endless repetition. The clean becomes soiled, the soiled is made clean over and over, day after day. The ideal of the average Western man is a woman who freely submits to his hegemony, who does not accept his ideas without discussion, but ends up accepting his reasons, who resists them intelligently in order to be convinced in the end. I have never entertained the illusion of transforming the female condition. It depends on the future of work in the world, and will not change seriously unless it means an upheaval in production. This is why I have avoided closing myself in so-called feminism. Imbecile pride. All women think they are different. All think that certain things cannot happen to them, and they are all wrong. It is in the knowledge of the genuine conditions of our lives that we must draw our strength to live and our reasons for living. Self-knowledge is no guarantee of happiness, but it is on the side of happiness and can supply the courage to fight for it. There are answers that I wouldn't have the strength to listen to, and so I avoid asking the questions. The couple is a community whose members have lost their autonomy without freeing themselves from loneliness. It is not individuals who are responsible for the failure of marriage. It is its institution itself that is originally perverse. The curse which lies upon marriage is that too often the individuals are joined in their weakness rather than in their strength, each asking from the other instead of finding pleasure in giving. It is even more deceptive to dream of gaining through the child a plenitude, a warmth, a value, which one is unable to create for oneself. The child brings joy only to the woman who is capable of disinterestedly desiring the happiness of another, to one who without being wrapped up in self seeks to transcend her own existence. If marriage diminishes the man, it almost always annihilates the woman. Economically, men and women almost form two castes. All things being equal, the former have better jobs, higher wages and greater chances to succeed than their new female competitors. They occupy many more places in industry, in politics and so forth, and they hold the most important positions. Simone de Beauvoir's legacy extends beyond feminism. Her reflections on human existence, freedom and individual responsibility continue to stimulate philosophical and social debate. Her life and work invite us to critically examine our role in the world and to fight for a more equal and free society. It is not in giving life, but in risking life that man is raised above the animal. That is why superiority has been accorded in humanity. That's what I consider true generosity. You give your all, and yet you always feel as if it costs you nothing. You cannot transform your life without transforming yourself. If you live long enough, you will see that every victory turns into a defeat. If a pain is temporarily kept away, it cannot be said to have ceased to exist. It is present even in the care with which one tries to avoid it. He who has an interest in perpetuating the present always sheds a few tears over the magnificent past that is about to disappear, without granting a smile to the young future. One always has to wait until the sugar melts, the memory dies, the wound scars over, the sun sets, the unhappiness lifts and fades away. From afar, old age seems like an institution, but in reality it is about young people who suddenly find themselves old. Society cares about the individual only insofar as he's profitable. The young know this. Their anxiety as they enter in upon social life matches the anguish of the old as they are excluded from it. Are old people human beings? Judging by the way they are treated in our society, one might doubt it. Old age cannot be understood except in its totality. It is not only a biological fact, but a cultural fact. The problem, de Beauvoir pointed out, is that old age is almost synonymous with poverty. The elderly are deemed unproductive, unprofitable, a burden on the state and family. To place one's salvation in someone other than oneself is the surest way of running towards one's own loss. The only thing that keeps you from being free, de Beauvoir reminds us, is your refusal to take responsibility for your own freedom. Don't gamble on the future, act now without delay. Freedom, according to de Beauvoir, is not a gift. It's a continuous act of transcendence. Are you ready to confront the expectations placed upon you and embrace your true self? Share your thoughts in the comments.